I feel like it depends on if they're in like a position of power. If somebody gains power or like enough wealth, they start to become evil because they want to keep the wealth or the power that they have.
I think that humans are not inherently evil because I think that evilness is taught and humans are inherently good.
No.
I feel like humans are not born naturally evil, but I think it definitely changed their perspective.
I don't really believe that people are inherently evil, but I do think that there are some people who are born with, like, are a sociopath and are born that way. But I think a lot of evil is learned in families, by friends, life situations, if you don't have what other kids have, or adults. But I don't think they're inherently evil. Just people like Jeffrey Dahmer and serial killers, I think they are inherently evil.
I don't think humans are naturally born evil because some people are born good and some people are born in evil, like houses and stuff.
I think that humans are not naturally evil. I think it's the experiences that make them good or bad.
I don't believe people were naturally born evil. I think it's based off of how you were grown up with and who really influences your childhood, especially your parents and the environment you are growing up with.
Well, that's an interesting question. I don't think your soul is evil. I think everyone has a beautiful, pure soul that's full of love. But I do think the human nature is sort of surrounded with evil things like greed, selfishness, power, all these different things that kind of taint your soul. And I think that the world sort of brings out all this other features that can be seen as evil. I think evil is kind of a bad word because I don't think anyone's really evil. I think people are just genuinely selfish. I think it's sort of a wrong question. I think your soul is pure, but I do think the human nature is clouded with lots of things that can be seen as evil. And it's our job and duty here on earth to just go back to who we are, which is just pure love.
I don't believe people are born naturally evil, but I do think it's their environment and the way they're raised that can help shape how they're becoming later in life and how, like, their goals in life and how they're destined to be.
I personally lean towards the idea that humans are naturally born good, and over time they just get worn down. And it's just a matter of how much they became worn down.
No, I don't think humans are naturally evil. I think we all have the will to do good. Even if we make bad decisions, we always want to make up for them.
I don't think humans are naturally evil. I think it's something that is taught or affected by experience, like traumatic experiences.
Nobody's naturally born evil. That doesn't exist. I also don't think evil in itself exists because everybody is correct to their own opinions.
Some people are definitely born evil because they have complications in their head.
So this feels very much to me like that nature-nurture argument, which, oh my God, you can go back and forth with that forever. And so just for the sake of having some kind of definition, the way I tend to think about it is the nature are the things that you don't necessarily consciously know you're doing. Like, for example, my dad wasn't really in my life, but my mom says I drive just like him. I have no idea how that happened. My brothers and I had to sign a document at one point, and our signatures are alarmingly similar. Don't know where that comes from. Whereas the nurture part of it are those things that you can make cognitive, conscious decisions about. And so, are people born evil? I don't think so. I think there may be a variety of impulses that, if left unchecked, could be bad habits, negative engagement, things that maybe evidently they shouldn't be doing. But shouldn't is that subjective element, that nurture component. And so it is a large part of where you're coming from. And I think that's going to have a greater impact on an individual's choices more so than.
My quote is on page 136. They say that's over.
From now on, anyone who wants to eat will have to pay. Protests came from all sides of the ward. It cannot be. They've taken away our food. The thieves, a disgrace, the blind against the blind. I'd never thought I'd live to see anything like this. Let's go and complain to the sergeant. As a group of thieves and thugs begin to take over the ward, many are at a loss for what they need to do. It's a large turning point in the story about whether to rely on one another or oneself. They begin to become selfish. It's no longer a question of morality, but of survival. Our environments and situations often cause us to forget about our values and morality and are taken over by instinct. Societies overall are fragile, and we are products of our environment. And in situations like this, we often feel strong emotions such as outrage and helplessness that influence our decisions, whether those are negatively or positively. In this case, we see a loss of innocence of those who went blind and the breakdown of everyday social contracts, meaning that society shifted from a relatively equal system to one of power and fear. Which overall, humans aren't naturally evil, but we adapt to our surroundings to protect ourselves.
Nor will the blind account forget to condemn, in his dual role as a participant in the process and its chronicler, the criminal conduct of these blind oppressors who prefer to allow the food to go bad rather than to give it to those in such great need. There's a Russian saying that goes, "Собака на сене сидит, сама не ест и другим не дает," which translates to, a dog is sitting on the hay, doesn't eat it, and doesn't let anybody else eat it either. It's typically used to describe people who are greedy and hoard stuff that they themselves have no use for, which is what's happening in the book in this moment. This excerpt comes from the moment where the true blind man, who has been being used as an accountant by the gang leader, starts noticing how the gang leader is awfully tyrannical and greedy, hoarding food, not eating it, and just letting it rot away. This hoarding behavior is typically seen in people who have gone through traumatic or stressful events, which the people in this book certainly have. The stressful event might lead to a feeling of losing control in life, and the hoarding behaviors could be a way to cope with that and feel better about themselves. The gang leader could be hoarding food for this exact reason. He could have been acting normally before going blind, but now that he has lost control, he feels the need to be selfish and greedy and protect himself by hoarding food. He isn't doing this to harm others, he's just focusing on keeping himself safe and hurting others in the process.
We all have to die, but not be killed, and I have killed someone. Don't blame yourself. It was a question of circumstances. Here we're all guilty and innocent. Much worse was the behavior of the soldiers who are here to protect us, and even they can invoke the greatest of all excuses, fear. From page 96. This quote from Blindness really shows how messed up everything gets when society breaks down. The speaker openly admits to killing someone, but it's not like they wanted to. It was because of how desperate and chaotic things had become. In the quarantine, when everyone was just trying to survive, and the line between right and wrong gets blurry. When they all say we're all guilty and innocent, it's basically saying no one is completely good or bad in that situation. Even the soldiers, who are supposed to protect the blind, end up hurting them. But the speaker says they were acting out of fear too. That fear becomes the excuse for everything, even violence and cruelty. It shows how quickly people lose their humanity when they're scared and society stops working.
She had blood on her hands and clothes, and suddenly her exhausted body told her that she was old and a murderess, she thought. But she knew that if it was very necessary, she would kill again. And when it is necessary to kill, she asked herself, when what is still alive is already dead. From page 192 to 193. After the doctor's wife had stabbed one of the hoodlums and killed him, in the midst of this intense, overwhelming violence, she realizes that she had become a killer, that she has committed the deed. This is significant because of how unexpected it was, even for someone like the doctor's wife, to do something so evil. But when in the situation where the environment pressured her to do so, she did what she had to do. In this moment, nothing else mattered but this, so that others could survive. This shows that people aren't born naturally evil, as the doctor's wife was very kind and helped everyone throughout the entire novel from beginning to end. But her environment pressured her to kill someone for the act of that kindness.